Premièrement, le bateau Colborne a été construit à Montréal durant l'année 1837. Ça s'est complété au mois de mai 1838. Puis son premier voyage a été de traverser du merisier puis du bois cher comme du chêne en Angleterre à Londres pour fabriquer des bancs d'église. Puis sur son retour, il devait ramener pour M. Sir John Colborne, qui était le commandant de l'armée britannique au Canada, il devrait ramener de la vaisselle d'argent, du vin, des spiritueux, puis aussi, surtout, 40 boîtes de souverains d'or pour la paie des soldats britanniques qui étaient postés au Canada, puis aussi des statues, etc., pour les églises anglicanes du Canada. Ils ont parti de Londres en Angleterre le 30 août 1838 pour se retrouver au large de la Pointe-aux-Maquereaux à Gascons dans la nuit du 15 au 16 octobre 1838, à peu près vers minuit. Pourquoi ils se sont ramassés au large de la Pointe-aux-Maquereaux quand ils auraient dû être au large de l'île d'Anticosti ou entre l'île d'Anticosti et Rivière-au-Nord? C'est parce qu'à l'époque, avant 1837, on voyageait au sextant. Puis en 1838, au printemps 1838, ils ont inventé le compas. Mais à l'époque, ils ne connaissaient pas la déclinaison magnétique. Ça fait qu'ils se sont ramassés au large de la Gaspésie au lieu d'être là. Quand ils ont vu la Terre dans l'après-midi du 15 octobre, les gens à bord du bateau, ils étaient contents de voir la Terre. Ça fait qu'ils se sont mis à boire du vin, puis du rhum, puis etc., qu'est-ce qu'il y avait à bord du bateau. Mais le capitaine Kent, lui, puis son second Hudson, il était à moitié pacté ou à moitié sous. Ça fait qu'ils n'ont pas réagi à temps. Puis finalement, ils ont frappé dans les roches de la Pointe-aux-Maquereaux. Ça s'appelle aujourd'hui lance aux morts, parce qu'il y a eu 43 morts, puis les cadavres ont été trouvés un peu partout, même à Chipagan, 2-3 semaines après. Le capitaine Hudson est mort, sa femme, Maria, 7 enfants sur 9 sont décédés. Ils sont tous enterrés en arrière de l'église anglicane à Pasteuriac. Le bateau, il n'a pas coulé directement à Pointe-aux-Maquereaux. Il a commencé par verser sur le côté, puis les gens à bord du bateau, ils ont paniqué. Puis s'ils avaient demeuré sur le bateau, là, ils seraient tous vivants encore. Ils sont morts parce que l'eau était plus ou moins glacée, puis on sautait à l'eau de panique parce qu'ils étaient collés du rivage presque. Ils n'étaient pas plus qu'à 200-300 pieds du rivage. Ils sont morts noyés là, puis de froid, puis d'hypothermie. Mais Joseph Jones Acteson, lui, par chance ou autrement, il a sauté dans la voile du bateau qui couchait sur l'eau.
So initially when the ship had ran aground, they had fallen in, basically. Everyone had fallen in. The ship had gone over on its side. And so he managed to get into one of these jolly boats, the small ones. And a wave came, hit him. The boat capsized. There were 5 other sailors with him in that boat. And then they managed to, 3 of the other sailors and him managed to swim to another boat, a longboat, and then they stayed in that boat for the rest of the night. And in the morning, the local fishermen in Gascons ended up coming out and sort of rescuing the survivors. So they got towed back to shore, and he ended up basically sort of going back to the fisherman's home. His name was Shador from Gascon. And so they took care of him. He had a daughter. They got along. And that's the end of that story. So eventually they got married. And so he basically stayed in Gascon. It's an amazing story in one sense, right? But it's tragic. And but it's part of my, I guess, my story as well, right? And I guess if it never happened, then Joseph Jones Acteson wouldn't have made it to shore. Mr. Shador wouldn't have come out and rescued him. He wouldn't have met Isabel, his daughter, and and then I wouldn't be here. So in one sense, I guess I'm very fortunate that it actually happened, in that sense.
Kept hearing about this in my youth and as I was growing up, and didn't know an awful lot about it. But I got into scuba diving, and I was in the underwater stuff, and so I said, well, I wonder what happened to the ship, you know, where did it end up and whatever. So nobody seemed to know anything about it or very much. So anyway, I looked up on a book by Margaret McWhirter called Treasure Trove of the Gaspé, and in it she tells the story about the Colborne. And a friend of mine, a relative actually, Doug Journo, and I got together. He had some diving tanks, and I had my equipment. So we said, let's go out and have a look. So we went out one day. He was getting older at the time, and we went out and we looked around. And it happened that there was one of his sons or son-in-laws had gone over the week before, looking around and couldn't find anything either. But it happened that he had a spear gun. And so there was a shiny silver piece on the spear gun that he'd lost, you see. So we went over, we borrowed a dory from Huey Journal. And we went over there and found it and swam around. And there wasn't a lot, the water wasn't very deep. It was only about 30 feet of water where I found this bell. And Doug had difficulty getting down, so I when I spotted that, I went up and I tugged on his leg and said, "Come on down." So he got down a little closer so that he could see it a bit, and so that was it for that day. So next week we went back. I said, "Got organized a bit better," and went back. And this flat that we had from Huey had a trap hauler, you know, but there was no motor. So we got a rope on the bell, and then we had to turn by hand, him holding on the end of the rope, and inch by inch to get it up to the top, it came up pretty decently. But then when we got the bell to the top of the water and started it lifting out of the water, holy Hannah, it was heavy. The water was being sucked up inside the bell, you see, until I got some air down inside to free it up. Then we got it rolled into the boat. But it's a church bell. It's about as high as this desk here or more, and quite like a bell you'd find in a church. It was destined for somewhere up in Upper Canada. And with the bell there was the hub of a wheel, which with the long shaft onto it, and I'm assuming it was the hub of the wheel of the Colborne.